question on rounding. When do we know how to round to 1 decimal place or 2 decimal places if we are not being asked to do any specific rounding? Well, we'll have to use common sense because the rounding will depend on how we are going to administer the medication. It will depend on the syringe and the equipment that we're going to be using. So if we are using a syringe that has resolution to 1/10, which we know is 0.1, then we'll round our answer to 1 decimal place, and we can do the calculation and put 1 decimal place in brackets after the answer. If we are using, for example, a syringe that has resolution to 1/100th, so 0.01, then we'll round to 2 decimal places. If you are not sure what the instrument that you are using, what the graduation is, maybe you could round to 2 decimal places. In cases where you'd have to do more calculations, let's say, for example, you are in the middle of a calculation and it's probably an infusion and you have 500 mils that you are dividing by 450 minutes, or let's make 480, and you get an answer that is 1.0411, lots of digits after that, and you still need to use this answer and multiply it by the drop set, for example, the 20 drops per mil after having had that answer there in mils per minute. So we don't even need to write the units just yet, but we would first do this calculation, multiply by 20, and then I think we would get something like 20 point this. And now this is when we can round the answer. So if you have a series of calculations, leave the full answer on the screen of your calculator. And if you need help on how to use your calculator buttons to actually be able to keep it there and do times 20, many calculators have what we call the answer button. But just ask me again. So anyway, you wouldn't round this pink answer here. You would only round when you got to this final answer. So here we would say, well, but this one here is actually, it would be drops per minute. So we know drops would need to be rounded to 1 whole number. So instead of 20.8, we would say 21 drops per minute. So there is that side of rounding as well. Again, if we are doing a calculation and the answer will be an infusion in drops per minute, we know that drops cannot be halved or cannot be a fraction, a fractional number. So the key thing then will be series of calculations, do not round during the calcs, only round the final answer. And when you have no specific rounding being asked, you try to see what the drug is all about, what the quantity also is all about. For example, if your answer was 358.442 mils, well, think about it. With this quantity, would it matter if it's 0.44 or 0.4 because it's 358 mils? Completely different if you had 0.248 mils, which is, this is probably going to be in a syringe that you're going to administer. So being very careful and aware of what syringe or equipment you are using. So in this case here, I would probably say on the top one, I would say maybe 358 mils, I would accept that, or 358.4 mils, a maximum of 1 decimal place. This one here on the bottom, depending on the syringe, I probably would say 0.25 mils if I am using an equipment, a syringe that is graduated to the 100th, or else I would say 0.2 mils. but probably in a small quantity like that, we would round to 2 decimal places. And yes, you are safe if you do your rounding and put the rounding you've made in brackets.